Welcome to Head of the Holler here at Berea College. We are so honored and pleased to have with us Caroline Herring, one of the best singer-songwriters working today. Caroline's 5 albums have been widely acclaimed, featured on NPR, Oxford American, A Prairie Home Companion, No Depression, The Utne Reader, and many other publications. She's one of our featured performers here at the Berea College Celebration of Traditional Music, which is now in its 38th year. Thanks so much for being here, Caroline.
It's my pleasure, Silas.
Well, I'm going to get right off the bat and start us way back at the beginning.
Okay.
I'm always curious about what artists were like as children, and I'm wondering if you were a musical child and if you grew up in a musical household.
I did. I remember riding in the back of a car with some friends to go get pizza. Maybe I was 5 or 6. And I remember one of the little girls said, "Well, for being a good singer, you sure are singing out of tune." And I said, "I'm singing harmony." So I must have been, very full of myself. And I was singing always, and in the church choir, and in the high school band, and I took piano from the time that I was 4. And it just, I didn't start doing what I'm doing now until I was almost 30. But I've always had music as a big part of my life.
It seems like guitar is your real love, though, as an instrument, right? I mean, that's what I hear you play the most. When did you?
Well, it's my main vehicle, I guess. I started playing that in college, maybe, and then in my early 20s when I was teaching high school, I started playing at coffee shops in Jackson, Mississippi, and thinking about playing.
Right. What about your first good song?
I think I was 28 when I wrote that first good song. I'd been writing and journaling for a long time, but I'd never written my own songs until the late 90s.
Did you record it? Have you recorded it?
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
It was Jewels. It actually ended up on my album Wellspring.
Yeah, it's a great album.
And then Standing in the Water. That was
Mhm.
another first song of mine. I left grad school at Ole Miss and went to Austin with 6 songs, and those were 2 of them.
How did you know those were the good ones? What was the difference between them and the things you've been writing before that you weren't satisfied with?
I wasn't positive. I just knew that it was time to begin, and I felt good enough about them. I remember I had these long, rambling song poems, and there was a songwriter in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm afraid all I can remember now is his name is Bob. But Bob looked at them and said, "Cut these things down by about 80%. And it was a great advice, and I did. And so I decided I'd take one piece of advice, and that was it. And then I went on, and they became my songs.
Right. Well, so much of our education as artists is other forms of art and other artists. So I'm wondering if your taste in music has always been pretty consistent, or is it something that's really evolved? And are the songwriters who've really influenced you as a songwriter yourself always been the musicians you listen to, or can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Before I knew I was going to be a singer-songwriter, I loved Joni Mitchell and Kate Wolf very much and listened to them all the time. And listened to jazz singers a lot, loved Sarah Vaughan and Billie Holiday. And then I started schooling myself, I guess, in classic country and bluegrass. I was in a bluegrass band called the Sincere Ramblers for a few years. And, I studied all the Emmylou Harris albums and learned, a pretty big canon of material. I had listened to my parents' Newport Folk Festival records when I was a kid. But I'd say people like, and Nancy Griffith, people like Joni Mitchell, Nancy Griffith, Kate Wolf, and then Bob Dylan, of course, among others. Those were people I loved.
Yeah. Your cover of Joni Mitchell's Cactus Tree is one of the best covers of one of her songs. Do you know if she's heard it, or?
I don't know.
Would you just die if you found out that she had heard it? I
well,
would.
Yeah, I suppose. I never even have contemplated that. She's too,
Yeah.
too, that's too surreal to consider. But I'd love it.
All right. Well, you've gone on since those first two songs that you came to care about and identify as being good enough to write some really incredibly great songs. One of your best, to my mind, and I think the one that got the most notice, I may be wrong, but I think it did, from my point of view, was Paper Gown. Would you agree with that? And will you tell us a little bit about Paper Gown, how that came to be?
Sure. Paper Gown is about Susan Smith, the 23-year-old woman who drowned her children because she was in love with another man who didn't want children by another man. And it's a gruesome thing to write about. I remember hearing a murder ballad, or recognizing that I was hearing a murder ballad for the first time. I heard Knoxville Girl. I thought, that is the worst. That is horrific. I will never, ever listen to anyone who sings a murder ballad ever again. And I understood pretty quickly. And when we had our first child, my husband and I used to sing Knoxville Girl before she was old enough to understand the lyrics, because it's such a pretty melody. Murder ballads are really strange, mysterious things, but what they are is, they go way back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just part of a long, several thousand-year tradition to write a murder ballad. And so I feel most like a traditional artist when I write one. And I don't know, I was writing it and then began to empathize with her. And if that's possible, and I think it's possible to empathize with anybody.
Sure.
So she had a terrible childhood, as most murderers do. And she witnessed a lot of terrible things. And I found her story fascinating and so sad.
Yeah. Well, even though that's a small part of your songs, it seems that I hear lots of people talk about how you are sort of becoming known for writing modern murder ballads. So what are other examples of that in your writing that you would identify?
Well, most recently, I was in England with something called the Cecil Sharp Project. And most folks in Kentucky probably are familiar with him. He was a ballad collector from England who came here and collected lots and lots of ballads and wanted English folk ballads of love and death, and he found them, and he made a big book of that collection. But I was asked, and then Leonard Podolak from Canada, who plays with the Ducks, and a woman from Scotland named Patsy Reed, and 5 people from the UK. We were from England. We were brought together to a farmhouse in Shropshire for 6 days to write what ended up being 18 songs about his life and work, especially in Appalachia. And so we did that, and I didn't know anybody, and so we had only so much time, and then there was a live performance, and they recorded it and made a DVD of it, which is now available. So it's a lot of pressure, and half of us were songwriters, so we had to go after material in a hurry. And I had really been struck by the New York Times op-ed that you wrote about living in Appalachia and how it feels to sometimes be forgotten by the rest of the U.S. and the hardships and the challenges that you face here. And I was especially struck by the talk about mountaintop removal and the example of a 3-year-old who was killed in his bed by a boulder that crashed into his trailer. And so when I went over there, I asked the group, would you mind if we did a modern murder ballad? It seemed contemporary, it seemed like it would be vital, and everybody said sure. And so I worked on it, and one of the other guys there uh, didn't think I was working fast enough, so he started working on it too. So I really had to work fast before he took it from me. And so that was actually wonderful. That helped a lot to have a major competitor sitting right next to you. It really gets things done. But we made it into a lullaby because my friend Catherine Roberts pointed out Cecil Sharp collected a few lullabies, and one was "Bye, baby, baby, bye." That's all it said. And so that's the chorus of the song. And then I wrote it as a lullaby from Jeremy's mother to him because I had read an article about how they had supper together and she read to him. And I have young children and I know how that feels to feed and bathe and clothe and read to your babies and put them down. And, all in the midst of the horror that was happening. So, and I'm extremely proud of it.
Yeah, it's incredibly moving and profound, and I'm wondering if you would mind singing it for us
Sure.
today. Well, I think your song, The Wild Rose, is such a great modern hymn. I'm hoping that people who haven't heard the song will, as soon as they see this show, go and look it up. You can do that nowadays, right? Just go to your computer and find it.
Absolutely. And of course, the words are taken from your great Kentuckian Wendell Berry.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, and his poem of the same name, The Wild Rose.
Oh, okay.
When you're hidden from, well,
Yes.
yes. It's when you are hidden from me and I cannot feel the beating of my heart. Walk me where wild things grow, where grace and light surround me. There I'll see my wild, wild rose, ablaze in all her glory, choosing what before I chose, the blessings of God's bounty. And it paraphrases the poem, but he liked it.
Oh, well, he's a great man, and it's a great song. So I hope everybody will listen to it in full. It's definitely, I think, one of your best.
Thank you.
One other thing that I want to get you to eventually sing another one of your best ones, "Tales of the Islander," if you can get that in your head. But first, I want to talk a little bit about it in a roundabout way. Getting back to the way songwriting is really literature. How has literature influenced your songwriting in particular? I mean, your songs are so character-driven that they're almost often like little short stories, or novels. I'm thinking in particular of like Mistress and Tales of the Islander and a few more that have suddenly left my mind. But
Like Abuelita.
yes, that was one of them.
My
I was gonna say.
grandmother.
Yes. So it's this perfect characterization. And everything else grows up out of that characterization into this real thing of beauty. So is there a literature influence at play there, or am I just reading that into it because I'm a writer and I want it to happen?
No, I think I'd be a novelist if I could write novels, but I'm just terribly wordy. Until I have to slim it down to, obvious, the essence that you have to when you write a song. And it just works for me better that way on my better days. And yes, I definitely think there's a connection simply because it's writing a story. So, and I enjoy writing about characters very much. I wrote Mistress is about a slave and her master in Texas, and a slave mistress who became a mistress of the plantation, which was a great story. And then Abuelita is about my grandmother who was raised in Texas and Costa Rica and then went to med school but had to drop out because of the Depression and lived in Mississippi for the rest of her life, which is a fine place to live. But I think, there were lots of dreams unrealized.
Right.
And then Tales of the Islander is about a Mississippi Gulf Coast artist named Walter Anderson,
Yeah.
who I've always known and loved.
What about him inspired you to write a song about him? What was so intriguing about him that you had to write a song about him?
I don't know exactly.
Was it his art or his life story or both?
I've known his artwork since I was a girl, and I bought my first piece of Walter Anderson artwork when I was 16.
Wow.
So, and I have always loved it, and I've been to the Gulf Coast to Ocean Springs several times to his museum and have been fascinated by him. And he was a great naturalist. He loved to row off the coast of Mississippi to the islands, and he'd spend weeks at a time there drawing and painting and carving and writing. He wrote a lot. And he also had mental health issues, which always intrigued me, serious ones. And he moved past those dark places and kept creating, which is very brave, I think. And he has so many different periods of his artwork, is either there's so many left to study, I could take one every 5 years and keep studying until I was 90. And so my house now is filled with the cheaper art, because he wanted the general public to be able to afford nice art in their homes, even for children's rooms, that is of quality. So he did a lot of wood prints of different things, and so we have lots of those. And when I'm a millionaire, I'll get some more expensive ones if they're still out there. But I just, his work's always spoken to me, and he's an artist that I can understand only because I have always known him.
Will you play it for us?
Sure. Tales of the islander, tales of you and me, floating on a raft down the mother Mississippi. Got myself a fever, took a hospital stay, tied some sheets together, crawled down, and was on my way. I was on my way. Let's take to the water and let our bodies roam free. No more taste or smell, no hear nor see. Then greet the morning star as we dance along the beach. Embrace this mighty sunrise as the cranes fly to meet it. Cranes rise to meet it. Birds call to me. They call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. When they call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. We found a paradise and its own garden gate. Adam and a hat on a rowboat, phosphorescence in the wake. The squall has passed and we're tied to the decay. But one day may the hurricanes come and carry us away. Carry us away. Waves call to me. They call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. When they call, ooh, they call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. Give me a sunset, a lilac, gold and green gray skies. I'll give you spirals and zigzag lines. It's the magic hour of a halcyon day, and all of mankind stands there, barely awake. A full moon rising on all of nature's powers, stars just observers of zinnias and moonflowers. We could bathe in the nulla of a Gulf Stream, prowl like cats in the night, then transform like moths in a chrysalis of light. Chrysalis of light. Moths call to me. They call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. When they call, ooh, they call to me, they call so deep. I gotta feel it all, no time for sleep, no time at all. When they call,
Thanks for being here with us. We sure have enjoyed the visit, and hope you'll come back and see us.
I'd love to. Thank you, Silas.
Thank you. Well, as always, we leave you with the sights and sounds of the Berea College Bluegrass Ensemble. I'm Silas House, and I hope you'll join us here next time at Head of the Holler.
Let 'em roll.